You know how sometimes we wake up and realize our life doesn't quite match the one we imagined. Something of this has happened with me a lot of times, listeners, and I not hope, but I think it may have happened with you as well. Maybe the job feels empty, the relationships strained, or there's just that quiet ache, that pain of something's missing. Well, it's easy to blame circumstances, but just think about it. What if it's not the world that needs changing? What if it's our thoughts? Surprising, right, listeners? Well, today on this episode of The Mindful Journey with your host Sana, we are going to explore a concept that sounds simple, but it feels revolutionary. That our thoughts shape our reality. And if you don't like what we see around us, we do have the power to rewrite the story from within. So, listeners, joining me is my incredible guest, Melissa Daly, a globally recognized integrative mind body health practitioner, trainer of NLP and also Timeline Therapy. She's the host of the award winning podcast, Don't Wait for Your Wake Up Call. Melissa helps people all over the world detox not just their bodies, but their beliefs. So, listeners, let's get real about the power of thought. Not in a fluffy, think positive, everything will be good way, but in a grounded, evidence based, and deeply human one. Melissa, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really excited for this conversation. This is such a good topic.
Thank you very much, Sana. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, Melissa. So for me as well, I think this is a bit surprising because, when I was going through the intro, this thought that my life doesn't match what I expected. It really, really sometimes eats me up from within. So, if you can explain how do exactly our thoughts shape our reality? Is it neuroscience? Is it energy? It is manifestation, or is it something deeper?
Well, all of that is really interconnected anyway, right? So
Okay.
let's just start at the beginning because I know for myself as well, when I first learned this, that I was literally creating my own reality every single day, that it was mind blowing to me. And then, even better, if you don't like your reality, you can change it. Well, that's great news, right? Because so
Yeah.
many people are out there going, this isn't what I wanted. I thought there would be more. Or who am I and what more can I be doing, right? So the great news
Mm.
is that we can change our reality. But let's take a step back and first explain how we are creating our own reality every minute of every single day.
Mhm.
So, first of all, our minds, our brains, as people know, are incredibly powerful computers. And through our five senses, our smell, our taste, our sight, our feelings, and our hearing, we are taking in 12 million bits per second of information every single day
Wow.
as we go through
Wow.
life. That is a big number.
Big number, yeah.
Million bits per second. Okay.
Yeah.
And just for a fun little piece of information here, 20 years ago, that number was only 2 million. So in the last 20
Wow.
years, it has increased from 2 million to 12 million because of all of our devices, right? It's
Mm.
constant, all of this information coming in through all of our senses. And guess what? That is too much for our mind, as powerful as it is, to be
Yeah.
able to deal with. And so what it has to do is it has to compress it down to a manageable number. And in the world of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, we use the term delete, distort, and generalize down to a manageable amount that our mind can actually cope with. And that is only 128 bits per second, plus or minus
Mm.
2. So that's huge compression from 12 million to 128 bits per
228
second.
bits, yeah. It
And
is. It
so
is.
our mind, our unconscious mind, this is all happening outside of our conscious awareness, is literally taking in all this information, going, yeah, delete, 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 distort, generalize, delete, delete, distort, generalize, right?
Yeah.
And even from 128 bits per second, it compresses it further into chunks of information, which comes down to only 5 plus or minus 2. And that is what our conscious mind, which is the small part of our mind, it is only 10% of our mind, that is what our conscious mind is able to cope with. So there's this huge compression happening, and it compresses through our filters. So all of us human beings have filters, and we all have the same categories of filters. This is how we move through time, space, matter, energy. It's our memories, it's our language, it's our decisions, it's our values, it's our attitudes, our beliefs, as well as our meta programs, which are the basis of our personality. So we all have those same categories of filters. However, the information stored within our filters is as different as our fingerprints, because no two of us have ever lived identical lives. Even identical twins haven't had identical experiences every day of their life, right?
Yeah.
So our filters are different. So as a result, as our mind is compressing all of this information down through our filters to this manageable amount, what comes out the other end is very, very individual to us. And at that point, it creates the movie screen in our mind's eye about the experience that we've just had, for example. And so my experience, if you and I went to to the same concert together, and then, the next day friends asked us about it, what I talk about as being my experience is going to be different than what you talk about being your experience, even though we sat side by side at the same event. Because my filters have me process it a different way to your filters. And so this is how we are literally creating our own reality every single day, right? So if the contents within our filters is negative, then as we process everything, we run the horror show. We see the world in a negative way. We might be fearful all the time, feel threatened all the time, because that's what's stored in our filters based on our childhood and our life to this point. Versus if we've had a wonderful life with all these incredible opportunities, and we see the world and people and humanity as being kind and generous, we're going to see the love story for each event that we experience in our life. Or somewhere in between, right? Those are the two extremes, the horror show to the love story.
Yes.
Or somewhere in between. And so to me, it was just so fascinating to think, oh my goodness, I really am creating my own reality every single day based on what's in my filters. And another really good analogy of this is if you've ever been to a family reunion. So I live, in a different country to most of my family. And whenever we get together every few years, we of course talk about things that we, did as children or that happened a few years ago or each other's weddings or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And I honestly used to think there was something wrong with my siblings' memories, because we would start talking about an event and they would be like, well, yeah, remember when this happened, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's not what happened. This happened. And I would think, why don't they remember it the way I remember it? Like, what's wrong with their memories? And do I need to be concerned about the health of their brain? And now I understand there's nothing wrong with their memory. They're sharing their truth based on their filters and their experience of the event. And I'm sharing my truth based on my filters and my experience of the event, because we are each creating our own reality. Does that make sense, Anna?
Oh my goodness. So much of it. So much of it. And Melissa, believe me or not, the same thing has happened with me as well. And gradually I got to understand that, maybe I have an elder sister, and sometimes her version of, those events which have happened in the childhood can be entirely different. But
Yes.
then perceptions differ.
Yes.
And many a times, I think, as you mentioned about the love story and the horror story spectrum, the ends of the spectrum here,
Mhm.
even some of the moments, which um, would supposedly look like a good memory or a good moment or a good event for someone else, it will be a horror story for me. And I would like to forget everything about it. So I
Yes,
think,
exactly. That can
mm,
happen too, right? Because of
yeah.
perceptions, as you said, and because of the way we view the world, we perceive it differently. And
Mhm.
so you mentioned in the introduction, we would also talk about timeline therapy. And timeline
Yeah.
therapy is a new healing modality that was introduced by a brilliant man by the name of Dr. Tad James. And
Mm.
it's been around since the beginning of this century, so around the year 2000. And it's working with the unconscious mind. And we use timeline therapy in our system, our healing system, because it's an entire system, as the first
Mhm.
step in helping someone come to a place of better health and shifting their thoughts, because timeline therapy will shift the filters. So, timeline
Mm.
therapy allows us to go in and get rid of all the negative emotion, the 7 major negative emotions of anger, sadness, hurt, fear, guilt, rage, and shame, as well as
Mm.
limiting decisions that we carry and we've carried since childhood of being unworthy or not good enough or unlovable or powerless or not smart enough or not pretty enough or not tall enough or whatever, right? Cancel, cancel, cancel
Mhm.
to all of that. And we
Yeah.
use timeline therapy to release all of that baggage that we carry around, again, unknowingly in our unconscious mind. And that shifts our filters. And we've basically cleaned the filters. So now we don't have to run the horror show anymore because we cleared everything
Mm.
out that was causing us to run the horror show. And now we can run the love story for the life that we want to lead and live and who we are becoming and who we want to be. And so a lot of people, when they go to coaches and they're looking for
Mhm.
support in something, the coach will look at, okay, let's look at the results. What are the results that you want, right? And then they're
Mhm.
working with the conscious mind. So now let's start creating a behavior, and you have to use willpower to practice that behavior and take that action. And here's your accountability, and here's your homework. And the
Mhm.
conscious mind is only 10% of the mind, and
Yeah.
willpower runs out because it's in that 10% of the mind. And that's a lot of effort. We instead use the unconscious mind, and instead of starting at the results, we go back to the beginning and change the program. The program that came in the first 7 years of your life, when that's
Mhm.
everything was being downloaded into our unconscious mind as we learned how to live in society and live by the rules of our house and school, etc., etc.
Mhm.
Change the program in the filters. And we clear the filters so that we automatically start to run the love story. That
Yeah.
changes then how we feel in our body, which changes our state. That then automatically changes our behaviors, because now we're feeling joyful, we're happy, we feel empowered, we feel motivated. So now we automatically do the behaviors that we need to be doing for who we are becoming. And we use this as a whole system. Instead of starting at the behavior and looking at the results, though, we go back and clean out what's holding us back, clear out the old programming that is no longer serving us, and install
Mm.
new programming such that we automatically do the behaviors that get us to the results that we want. And in doing that process, we're rewiring neurology, which means it's lasting, it's effective. And so when life happens, because let's face
Mhm.
it, life is always going to happen and throw us a curveball,
Yeah.
we don't suddenly go back to the old behavior, even after months and months and months of practicing a new behavior. We stay with the new behavior even when life happens, because it's neurologically wired for us to do that now, and we don't go back
Mhm.
to the old behavior. And so that's why I love this modality of timeline therapy, because it is so powerful and at the same time very quick, because the unconscious mind is much faster than the conscious mind,
Oh, yeah.
and highly effective, and it's so graceful. With timeline therapy, we clear out all those negative emotions that I told you about, which has the effect of clearing the trauma from the cells in our body without us even having to talk about it. Because the unconscious mind, it stores all of our memories as well. That's one of its main jobs. It already knows what happened. We don't need to talk about it over and over again. Talking about it deepens the neurology of the trauma, and it has our nervous system firing every time we talk about it.
Yeah.
Great one time to talk about it to bring it to awareness. Talking about it over and over again is actually causing harm because it's deepening that neurology of the trauma. We want to release that. And that's
Mhm.
timeline therapy is so powerful because we don't have to talk about it. We just have to ask our unconscious mind, what did I need to learn? And the unconscious mind gives us the learnings through this guided process. And as we get those learnings, the unconscious mind goes, excellent, she's learned it. I can release that emotion from the body and release it. And that's the process that literally results in us clearing the filters. Because remember, I said our filters store our memories, they store our
Yes.
values, our beliefs, they store our attitudes, and et cetera, right? So timeline therapy helps to clean all this up so that we can run the love story. And
Mm.
we love this work because it's so powerful, and I appreciate you having me on the show because most of the world's never heard of this. And we want this to become a household name so that people have options in their healing journey. It doesn't mean everybody has to choose timeline therapy. However, you need to know about it just so you have a choice. Do I want to go to talk therapy? Do I want to have timeline therapy?
Mm.
What do I want to use in my healing journey?
No, so I'll have so many thoughts here, Melissa, but I'll just go in the excuse me, reverse order.
No problem.
So talking about talk therapy, it does make sense, because let's see, yeah, of course, I think the very basic, the first step, in kind of acknowledging or addressing specifically, mental health, or
Mhm.
even if the issue is physically manifested, is that you acknowledge, you are aware, and also you are being heard. And that way, I think talk therapy is a good way to begin with. But I
Yes.
also agree with your logic that even if I keep on sharing my trauma, or any painful memories which I have over years and multiple sessions, where exactly is the solution? How am I gonna, like, flush it out of my entire system? And how can I move over to the next, to the new, kind of new me, the new version of me? So I
Exactly.
think in that sense, timeline therapy is definitely sounds a much better way to begin with. And
Exactly.
one more question kind of comes to my mind, and this is specifically because you mentioned about unconscious.
Mhm.
Now, because the first 7 years of our entire journey, we gather through all the memories, our environment, our parents, friends, siblings. Sometimes, we kind of, and personally, I also feel like some of the habits I have kind of inherited from my maybe father or my mother. And I find a
Absolutely.
lot of similarities in there. And now there is something called as these Jungian archetypes. So is timeline therapy, does it mean that we are completely like clearing that mirror of unconscious and like putting a new mirror?
So, yes, we are clearing. We go to the root with timeline therapy of whatever the unconscious mind is willing to release at that time that we're doing the session.
Mm-hmm.
And we are clearing all of the anger, for instance. It's on a gestalt, which think of that as being like a pearl necklace that is opened up. It's not in a loop. And when we go to the root and we pull the bottom pearl off, then all
Mm-hmm.
of the other pearls fall off as well. So
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
the anger stored in that gestalt gets released when we go to the root. And so, to your point, though, with timeline therapy, and because of the power of our unconscious mind and how it stores our memories of every event we've ever had in our entire soul's journey on this planet, it
Mm-hmm.
will take us back into past lives. It will take us back generationally. And so, yes, we can clear this that has been passed down to us from our parents, etc., or that is we've brought in from a past life, and we can clear that as well. And in the process of clearing it, when we come back to now, it drops all of the pearls off that necklace. So it's now just an empty string. In that process, we're clearing it forward for our children as well. And so this is incredibly powerful what we can do with our unconscious mind, which is the other 90% of our mind. Have
Yeah.
so much access to so many opportunities to heal, to access resources, to step into our best version of ourselves in this lifetime to fulfill our mission. And it's
Absolutely.
a matter of, are you using the right tool for the job? So as you said, and as I said, talk therapy is excellent for bringing things into awareness. So perhaps it's the right tool for the job when we're attempting to come to awareness around whatever's going on for us. And then after that, it may no longer be the right tool for the job because it doesn't actually clear it from the body. We need to clear all that stuffed down negative emotion from the body. And the unconscious mind is the home of our emotional body. So it's the
Yeah.
unconscious mind. That's where the programming happens when we're a young child. So if we want to rewire the program, we have to do it in the unconscious mind. If we want to clear the emotion, we have to work with the unconscious mind in order to do that. And when we are in talk therapy, that is just working with the conscious mind. So we cannot change our programming through talk therapy. We cannot shift the emotion in our body with talk therapy because that's just using the conscious mind.
That makes sense. And I think this idea, it um so much like challenges so much of the traditional thinking in medicine. But honestly, the mind body connection here, it is kind of becoming impossible to ignore, because um as we call it, the dis-ease, some of the internal dialogue, it
Yes,
kind of manifests into this physical form in terms
absolutely.
of our health or immunity, energy as well.
Yes, and I see that. So as an integrative health practitioner, I was studied that before I got into this work with the unconscious mind. So I already knew that stuff down emotion was causing dis-ease in the body, that our thoughts had the capability to cause dis-ease in the body as well as to heal, right? If we
Yeah.
believe we can heal, then just through the power of our mind, we can set our body onto a healing path. There may be more steps. However, the moment we believe we cannot heal, guess what happens? All healing shuts down, right?
Yeah.
So I knew all of that as an integrative health practitioner. And then I started studying the power of our unconscious mind, which took it to a whole new level because of the fact that we have access to so much more when we tap into our unconscious mind. And it is so powerful. And yet we're not taught this through our school system. We're not taught this through
Exactly.
our mainstream medical model. Our doctors don't get taught this through medical school. We do our master practitioner timeline therapy trainings. We teach the meta health protocol, which is the work of Deepak Chopra, Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, and others, because it's addressing all four bodies. And that's our spiritual body, our emotional body, our mental body, and our physical body.
Physical body.
And by the time we have symptoms showing up in our physical body, it's already moved through the other three bodies. Even as an integrative health practitioner, I only learned about how to heal the physical body. And that's what our medical doctors are learning as well. And yes, that's a great place to start. However, we have to then heal our emotional body, and we have to heal our mental body, and we have to heal our spiritual body. Because whenever there's misalignment in any of those three bodies, guess what happens? We might heal the physical body, and then 6 months, a year, 18 months later, we get more symptoms.
Yeah.
Because one of those three bodies is going, hello, I'm sending the symptom to you to make you pay attention because you didn't heal me. And of course, they don't speak English to us, so we can't say, well, which part of me did I not heal?
Exactly.
So then that's where, again, timeline therapy is so powerful, because timeline therapy will allow us to heal the emotional body. It will allow us to heal the mental body by releasing all of those limiting decisions. And once we've done that, now we can heal our spiritual body. because our spiritual body misalignment often comes because of the fact that we are feeling like our soul is being sucked, the life of it is being sucked out of
Yeah.
it because of a job that we dislike, or a relationship that we're not happy in, etc., etc. And we stay because we have these limiting decisions. Oh, well, this is better than being single, or I have to stay in this job because it pays the bills and it gives me a medical plan.
Exactly. Yeah.
Those are limiting decisions, right? However, when we've cleared those limiting decisions, now the person has clarity. Oh my goodness, I could go and do this. I could fulfill my mission and I would feel so fulfilled living this purpose, and I could make money doing it. It would also pay the bills. Or, oh my goodness, I can be single and happy and joyful, etc., etc. And so the work that we do now is addressing all four bodies, not just the physical body.
That is actually very fascinating, Melissa. That is very fascinating. And okay, so before we wrap up, I think our listeners, I mean, I am very, very much, curious to further explore. So if our listeners, they would also like to get a better idea about timeline therapy, they would like to connect with you to begin with and check out your resources, what would be the best medium?
Well, we have a website. It is called amplifyimpactacademy.com, and that is a great place to start. Every month, we do a free workshop called Meet Your Unconscious Mind Workshop, and I can give that to you to put into the show notes, and people can also find it on our website under programs. It's a 2-hour workshop where we literally introduce you to the power of your unconscious mind and timeline therapy and some other tools that we can use with our unconscious mind to have people start to understand the power that we have within us. And feel free to email if you have specific questions, which is simply info@amplifyimpactacademy.com.
Super, super. Listeners, what I'll do for all of you is to have all the details in the show notes. So I urge all of you to visit amplifyimpactacademy.com, check out all the programs in there. And I think what I am taking away from this, a very empowering conversation, listeners, is that it is inviting us back to the driver's seat of our own minds. Not through any toxic positivity or this, jingoism or this quick fixes, but it is through awareness, courage, and also the tools to shift what no longer serves us. So, Melissa, thank you so much for reminding us that, our thoughts aren't just noise, they are blueprints.
You are very welcome, Sana. I love how you put that, putting us into the driver's seat of our own thoughts and therefore our own reality and our life. So thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Melissa. And to all the listeners, if your current reality feels heavy, it is not the end of the story. Trust me. You can change the narrative. Until then, this has been the Mindful Journey with Sana. Take a breath, reflect on what thought you want to carry forward today, and make it one that leads you home to yourself. Thank you.